What's up, my comic comrades? It is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness week. In fact, first showings of the movie hit theaters today, and we will be bringing our initial spoiler-free reaction to the movie as soon as we see it. But it was seemingly revealed in last week's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness trailer that some version of the Living Tribunal, one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe, will be making its live-action debut in the film. And whether it's just a quick cameo or the Living Tribunal has a large role in the film, it's a massive development for the MCU. Having said that, this isn't the first time it was referenced in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The first time the Living Tribunal was referenced was in the first Doctor Strange movie, where Mordo introduced the staff of the Living Tribunal. Then in episode 5 of Loki, we are shown a broken head to a statue of the Living Tribunal. So there's no doubt it will be playing a role somewhere. That being the case, today we're going to break down exactly who the Living Tribunal is and what it could mean for the MCU going forward. The Living Tribunal was created by Stan Lee, Marie Severin, and Herb Trimpe. They made their first appearance in Strange Tales issue 157 in June of 1967. The issue featured a Nick Fury story and a Doctor Strange story, and wouldn't you know it, the Living Tribunal debuted on the last page of the Doctor Strange story. Tribunal told Doctor Strange that for his actions, which transpired earlier in the issue, the entire planet must be destroyed. Such is the judgment of the Living Tribunal. So it makes all the sense in the world that the Living Tribunal would make its live-action debut in a Doctor Strange film. Anyway, even though the Living Tribunal debuted in Strange Tales issue 157, his first story happens in Strange Tales 158, where he's judging Doctor Strange for his actions. As I'll get into later, the Living Tribunal is just that. He's the judge of Marvel's multiverse. In any case, he says to Doctor Strange, "Hear me, mortal, because you have unwittingly unleashed upon the cosmos a menace which threatens the worlds beyond worlds. Earth must be destroyed." Strange then says to himself, "This then is the unknown being whose approach the Ancient One warned me." The Living Tribunal then continues to say, "But I need waste no more words on one who's beneath my notice. Now shall be pronounced the incantation of oblivion, and your puny planet shall exist nevermore." Long story short, the Living Tribunal is about to enact his justice on Earth because of Doctor Strange's actions, and explains to Strange, and I'm paraphrasing here, "Yo, if I let this ride out, it's gonna screw up not just your Earth, but the multiverse." Doctor Strange is like, okay, I get it. You're like the big papa with the big mappa, and I screwed up. But hey, I'm the master of the mystic arts, and I've earned the right to do battle for the lives of mankind. The Living Tribunal responds, "Even I have not the power to spare your threatened world for long. For my true function, that task for which I was primevally created, is to protect the worlds without end, to whom your Earth is but a speck of dust." So if you're wondering what the Living Tribunal is and what its function is, he just told you. Strange then says, "I ask only a chance, immortal one, and such time as you may grant." The Living Tribunal says, "And as truly as the million galaxies are in my keeping, you shall have it." Going on to basically say, "Fine, if you could fix this before this giant hourglass runs out, I'll let you keep your puny Earth." Literally saying, "Heed my final words, mortal. You have but little time in which to undo the evil wrought by the Fiend of Zom. For when the sands of death have run their full course, I shall return, and in that hour the Earth shall surely perish." We then basically see Doctor Strange flying away, being like, "Crap, gotta fix this." So anyway, that's the Living Tribunal's first appearance in comics, where we learn that he was created to protect the worlds without end, to whom the Earth is but a speck of dust. But who created him? That would be the One Above All, the God of the Marvel Universe. The One Above All created the Living Tribunal to be his judge and arbitrator of cosmic justice. This means the Living Tribunal is second only to the One Above All, meaning the Living Tribunal is above the Celestials, Eternity, Galactus, and Infinity. Again, he is literally the second most powerful entity or being in all of the Marvel multiverse. Not universe, multiverse. Dude literally safeguards the multiverse from mystical imbalance, and because of this, he transcends the realms of eternity and death, order and chaos, and all other opposing realities. Everything. Again, this means any and every dimension, anything that exists either in time or space, as matter or as void, the Living Tribunal keeps watch and judgment over. Now you may be asking, why the heck does he have 3 faces, and why are some of them covered or partially covered? His fully covered face represents necessity, his half covered face represents vengeance, don't want to get on that face's bad side, and his fully revealed face symbolizes equity. He uses each of his faces to look upon the world and judge. For an example of how badass the Living Tribunal is, when Thanos got the Infinity Gauntlet in the comics, which gave him the power of reality, space, time, mind, soul, and power, the Living Tribunal was the only one that wasn't affected by the will of the gauntlet. This means even if someone gathered all the Infinity Stones, or Infinity Gems as they're called in the comics, and wished half of the universe's population away like Thanos did in the MCU, the Living Living Tribunal would not be affected by this, telling us you couldn't use the Infinity Gauntlet to defeat the Living Tribunal, because he's like, no bro, those are just pretty looking stones to me. How about you be the judge of the multiverse as appointed by the one above all like me, and you'll know real power. With that said, the Living Tribunal is essentially a force of nature. It's not like Thanos or Iron Man or any other villain or hero that has feelings and emotions. It's essentially a machine that's programmed to act out its job and doesn't think about feelings for the most part. It puts logic and safety of the multiverse above all else, which is actually a segue into powers and abilities. As you would assume by now, the Living Tribunal has limitless power. He is able to erase entire realities from existence. With that said, like I just alluded to a bit ago, he's kind of a machine pre-programmed. He doesn't have free will. He's bound to do what his only master tells him to do, and that is the one above all. With that said, he is nigh omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. His three heads are able to see the past, present, and future. So that right there tells you everything you need to know. So before we wrap this up, let's summarize. The Living Tribunal is a humanoid cosmic entity that has existed for as long as the universe itself has existed. Its purpose is to safeguard the multiverse from imbalance. This means it may step in to prevent one universe from gaining more power than any other universes and thus upsetting the cosmic balance. The Living Tribunal might also step in to stop overwhelming imbalance of good or evil within a certain universe. However, when something comes up that only affects one universe, the Living Tribunal will leave final judgment to other entities like Lord Chaos and Master Order. With that said, I'm very curious to see what the Living Tribunal's role is going to be in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and just the MCU going forward. In my opinion, he's likely to have a significant role because with the multiverse being cracked open in Spider-Man and Doctor Strange screwing things up, he's got to be pretty pissed off. He'll likely be stepping in to basically say, hey guys, here's the thing about messing with the multiverse. Don't. Either way, I am very curious to see what the Living Tribunal's judgment is going to be, or if we're even going to see his judgment, because theoretically, the Living Tribunal could be the reason things change in the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward. If he thinks something needs to be rebalanced, it's gonna be rebalanced. Anyway, that wraps up our summary of who the Living Tribunal is and why it matters to the MCU. I can't wait to see how this plays out, because once we see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, we'll definitely be posting videos on what it could mean for the MCU and its future. And that's gonna bring today's episode to a close, but if you enjoyed this episode, check out this one right here. And if you like all of our content, like, subscribe, and comment. It helps us out. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.